Welcome to the Hope for the Journey podcast, a weekday wellness tips program presented by Dr. Denise Marie, Third Order Carmelite. Dr. Denise is a professionally qualified clinical psychologist, health and wellness professor and coach, counselor, plus medicinal herbs educator. Each Hope for the Journey podcast features a well-being key from Dr. Denise, helping you meet your self-care needs for living well. Listener discretion is advised because this and other Hope for the Journey episodes may contain discussions surrounding behavioral health problems and other actual potentially triggering topics.
Greetings and best wishes to all of our show listeners today. And I welcome you to the fourth kids episode of Hope for the Journey. I am really hoping that you are having a good day today. Now, I am your host, Miss Ann, because our regular presenter, Dr. Denise, is taking a few days off from her full schedule to rest a bit, and good for her. So I am speaking to you today with the recording help of the all-volunteer radio crew at Fort Wise Kingdom School, which is where I work part-time to assist all the OOMPs who do their studies there every weekday. And for those of you who haven't heard of Fort Wise Kingdom School, it is located in the one and only village with the name Lively Heart Land. And for those of you who haven't heard of the OOMPs, they are a small group of 11 special needs orphans who are not fully like other residents in Lively Heartland. So for today's kids show, you will hear about my meeting with one of these 11 OOMPs about our discussion, which I call Time for Whimper, an emotional self-care key for living well. Just so you know, Vader Francis is the principal of Fort Wise Kingdom School. The 11 OOMPs are all under his supervision during each weekday. Vader Francis is not only a very intelligent man, but also a truly kind priest. He makes sure Fort Wise Kingdom School is ever caring toward the OOMPs, and that its teachers are regularly giving them all the needed knowledge. In these ways, all of the student OOMPs will be well educated and ready to behave quite responsibly. Today's story focuses on the OOMPh named Whimper. Being a creative type, one of Whimper's favorite things in the world was a picture he had painted of himself having an after-school chat with school principal Vader Francis. In the painting, Vader Francis was sitting on his armchair in his principal's office, while Whimper was casually sitting on Vader Francis's big work desk. They were having a conversation with each other about the marvelous love that Jesus especially has for the little ones, including even during times when they are really hurting. Because Whimper so cherished this after-school talk he had with Vader Francis, Whimper painted this picture to help him always remember this great time he and Vader Francis had shared together. It was a painting Whimper proudly hung on the wall above his chest of drawers in his bedroom of the OOMPh family windmill. Today, one of Whimper's friends from school had asked Whimper to see this painting because one of Whimper's brother OOMPhs, the leader of the OOMPs, whose name is Bliss, mentioned it was a truly beautiful work of art. So after school, Whimper gladly met his school friend near the street in front of his family windmill. And there Whimper showed his schoolmate the painting of his great visit to the school principal's office. This friend really liked the picture and thanked Whimper for taking the time out to meet with him about it. Once his friend left to walk back to his own home for dinner, Wimper sat down in the grass to admire the painting for a bit of time. However, most suddenly, a downpour of rain unexpectedly began and totally drenched his painting, rapidly ruining it. The shock of what happened completely set off Wimper's entire oomph nature. Wimper's heart fell into a sorrow beyond words. He pulled his handkerchief out from his hidden pocket to catch the tears that were already flowing out in buckets from his eyes. He ran back inside the family windmill to his bedroom and collapsed onto his bed, sobbing and crying at a level deeper than he had ever experienced before. Because ordinarily, Wimper's heart is just plain feeling blue, he has a special energy that moves people's hearts to feel sad from all the things in life that count as losses. Because that is simply the way Wimper's emotional nature works. Wimper is not like any of his brother oomphs, such as Hopin, Hope Loose, Shun, and Mad, who have already appeared as guests on this podcast. But today was a very unusual day for Wimper's personality. And when his brother oomph Bliss heard the unusually, thunderously loud sounds coming from Wimper's bedroom, he immediately telephoned Miss Anne to ask if she could make a home visit this evening, once the rainstorm outside had stopped, to help Wimper get through whatever had put him in this state. Bliss was really glad to learn that Miss Anne did have some time to spare this weekday night. She arrived at the family windmill at 8:15 p.m. and was led by Bliss into their study to meet with Wimper. Bliss happily delivered the news to Wimper by slipping under Wimper's bedroom door a large piece of construction paper with a handwritten message which read that Miss Anne was waiting in their study to hear from him right now. So Wimper pulled himself up from his bed, left his bedroom, went into the study, and sat down across from Miss Anne.
Wimper, what's going on with you today? I see your handkerchief is totally drenched. Here, take as many tissues as you need from this box I usually carry in my briefcase.
I'm the most heartbroken I've ever been in my life, Miss Anne.
What has happened, Wimper? So Wimper went on to tell Miss Anne about all that happened this afternoon with his most favorite painting. Then Miss Anne said, "Oh, I am so sorry to hear about what happened to you, Wimper. What a very painful thing to be going through. And now I can certainly imagine why you are so torn up with tears."
Thank you kindly, Miss Anne. I just cannot seem to succeed in getting a hold on my sorrow-stricken body and soul in the least. And all I feel like doing is hiding in my room so nobody else sees me like this.
Wimper, I get that. It's really very understandable. Yet, might I say a few words to you about what happened today?
Yes, Miss Anne. Even though it must not be easy for you to talk to me while I'm flooding your tissues with my tears.
Thank you. I am appreciating what you're saying, Whimper. Yet no apologies needed for the tears you're crying. You can let all your tears flow. They are telling me how very much you cherish the painting you made of you and Vater Francis. I wouldn't have understood the degree of your sorrowfulness had you not been crying out loud and sobbing this way. The pain you feel is real and needs to be fully felt and deeply released. After all, feelings are simply for feeling. Cutting short your emotional processing would not be good for your long or short-term health and wellness. There is healing for you by way of all this feeling. Like the biggest waves of the ocean, the feelings will eventually begin to settle. So don't let anyone try to rush you through your sorrowful feelings. And there's nothing wrong with needing some space and taking time alone. You can grieve what you lost with this painting in your own way and in your own time. There is no deadline. And when I am not here to talk to you, you can always share what you need to with God. You can tell God all about how you feel.
These words you are speaking to me, Miss Anne, are very good for me to hear. I'm already feeling like my heart can gradually find hope for healing from my loss.
Yes, continuous heartache doesn't have to be the end of this story. And you can feel free to call upon me again should you wish to talk more about these things.
Maybe I could drop by your office to speak with you at school tomorrow, Miss Anne.
Yes, you may. I can meet with you around 3:15 p.m. How's that?
That sounds swell.
Okay, your meeting with me is set then for tomorrow afternoon. And as I go on my way home tonight, how would you like to hear a bit of music I recorded that some Fort Wise Kingdom School students have considered to help with an aching heart? You might have heard how I and our school's fitness teacher like to get together and sing.
That's fine with me, Miss Anne, as I believe some music has worth for easing the pain in one's heart.
All right then. I will leave this recording with you to listen to on your own. And you can return it to me when you and I have our meeting tomorrow after school.
Thank you, Miss Anne. We have a working plan.
You're welcome, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, Whimper. All will be well.
Until then, Miss Anne. Whimper tears, for it is sad, quite a loss and not so glad, missing out on something good, disappointed for gift which helps with tears, reaching out with love is dear.
So there you have it, Podcast Kids episode listeners. This is still Miss Ann continuing to speak. And after all the conversation today, I wonder how you would feel about doing some ordinary moving around of your own. Some after-school exercise with music that moves your emotional motors toward getting more physically mobile. The music video I recommend using for this exercise time is called You Are Amazing. It shows a fun band of movers and shakers named the Flizbins. And you can find this You Are Amazing video on YouTube through the link I provide first in the description of today's podcast video. Plus, besides spending a bit of exercise time with Flizbin friends, parents tuning in here can even check out other wellness helps we feature in our Hope for the Journey podcast resource center located on Instagram at Cause for Hope. Then to finish things up for this evening, I wanted to let you know that it has been a true blessing to have been invited by Dr. Denise to host this podcast for you today on the important opportunity to allow time for whimper, which is an emotional self-care key for you too, not to let your expected season of grieving be short-circuited to the point that you are moving around with a deep, soaking puddle of tears walled up inside your heart. So God's best to you of continued hope for the journey of emotional well-being.
The Hope for the Journey program airs weekday evenings from 7:45 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram and YouTube. Dr. Denise thanks you for listening to her Community Wellness podcast and wishes you to keep in mind that there is cause for hope of more well-being.